Just a quick recap. We're going to watch the home invasion again. All right, here we got the first one right here. Yo, Wreck. Remember, this kid, it wasn't, everybody thought that this was the Island Boys. He was saying Red. He was saying Wreck. That's Skinny Mini's nickname right here. This kid with the fucking Glock with the extendo, that's Wreck, right? Running through the house before Christmas. And then you got this goofy standing right here with 6ix9ine's, 60-something-year-old mother, right? Now, all three of these kids have been identified. Third suspect arrested in armed robbery at Tekashi 6ix9ine's Wellington home.
Stop everything and pay very close attention, because the most dangerous game in the rap industry has just reached a terrifying and permanent conclusion that no one saw coming. We have all watched the rainbow-haired provocateur Tekashi 6ix9ine dodge bullets and legal battles for years, but the reports currently exploding across the internet suggest that the walls have finally closed in on the men who dared to violate his sanctuary. The headlines are absolutely screaming right now with news that all three of the alleged home invaders who terrorized the star are officially done for after a massive and high-stakes police operation led to their capture. We are talking about a story of pure survival where the fear was real and the consequences are now looking to be life in prison for those involved. Fans are in a state of absolute shock as the details of this alleged takedown surface, revealing a level of tension and street justice that feels more like a Hollywood thriller than real life. Was this a coordinated hit or a desperate move that backfired in the most devastating way possible? The streets are buzzing with whispers of betrayal and secret surveillance that led law enforcement straight to their door. Stay tuned, because we are breaking down the viral reports that have the whole world asking, is the 6ix9ine saga finally over, or is this just the beginning of a much darker chapter? The streets of Florida have reportedly become a battlefield of high-stakes surveillance and rapid police movement, as the news of the alleged capture of the individuals who targeted Tekashi 6ix9ine begins to saturate every corner of the digital world. According to these sensational reports, the operation was not just a simple arrest, but a massive coordinated takedown involving multiple agencies that had been tracking the movements of the three suspects for weeks through the dark corners of the state. Sources are claiming that the tension reached a breaking point when law enforcement allegedly received a tip from a high-level informant who was once deep within the circle of the home invaders themselves, creating a situation where betrayal and survival became the only currency on the table. The reports suggest that the suspects were found hiding in a low-profile apartment complex far away from the bright lights of the city, thinking they had successfully vanished into the shadows after the high-profile attack that left the rainbow-haired rapper in a state of total vulnerability for months. Witnesses who claim to have seen the raid describe a scene of absolute chaos, with armored vehicles blocking every exit and flashbang grenades echoing through the early morning air as officers moved in with a level of precision that suggests they were taking no chances with such a dangerous group of men. The rumors coming out of the legal teams involved are pointing toward a mountain of evidence that was reportedly gathered through hidden cameras and intercepted messages that were being traded back and forth between the invaders as they discussed their next moves against the controversial star. According to these claims, the emotional stakes for 6ix9ine and his family have been at an all-time high, with reports suggesting that the rapper has been living in a state of constant paranoia, surrounded by a private army of security while he waited for justice to finally catch up to the men who dared to violate his sanctuary. Fans are absolutely reeling as details emerge about a supposed confrontation during the arrest, where one of the suspects allegedly tried to bargain for his freedom by offering up information about even larger plots against the rap industry, but the authorities were reportedly not interested in making deals with people who are now facing the possibility of life behind bars. The narrative being pushed by these reports suggests that this takedown is a clear message to the streets that targeting a high-profile figure like 6ix9ine will result in a relentless pursuit that ends with total destruction for anyone involved. And as the suspects were led away in handcuffs, the look of pure shock on their faces was reportedly captured on body cams that are already being fought over by every major news outlet in the country. The rumors describe a sense of relief spreading through the Rapper's inner circle, but the air remains thick with the fear that this might only be the beginning of a much larger retaliation from the shadows. As the legal system prepares to process the suspects, the reports state that the evidence is so overwhelming that a conviction is almost a certainty, leaving the men to face a future of concrete walls and steel bars for the rest of their natural lives. Every new leak and every anonymous tip adds another layer of complexity to a story that has the whole world watching with bated breath, because we are talking about the most polarizing figure in hip-hop finally seeing the law work in his favor after years of being labeled as a snitch and a target. The atmosphere in the community is one of pure anticipation as people wait to see if the rapper will break his silence and address the reports of the capture of his enemies, or if he will continue to hide behind his security while the legal war plays out in the public eye. It is a truly sensational turn of events that has turned the tide in a saga that many thought would only end in tragedy. Yet here we are talking about a major victory for the authorities and a devastating blow to the men who thought they could get away with the ultimate crime against a celebrity. The reports suggest that the second stage of this high-stakes operation was even more dramatic than the initial takedown, as law enforcement moved to secure the evidence that would ensure these men stay behind bars for the rest of their lives. According to these sensational claims, the investigators discovered a hidden stash of jewelry and high-end tech that reportedly belonged to the rapper hidden within a false wall of the suspect's hideout, proving once and for all that this wasn't just a random act of violence, but a targeted robbery designed to humiliate the star. Sources are whispering that as the suspects were being processed at the central booking station, the reality of their situation began to set in, leading to heated arguments between the three men as they reportedly started turning on each other in an attempt to save their own skin. It is being said that one of the individuals, who is described as the leader of the group, was heard shouting that he was set up by someone close to the rapper's own team, adding a massive twist of betrayal to an already complex narrative. Fans are absolutely shocked as reports surface about a supposed secret recording found on one of the invaders' phones, which allegedly captures the terrifying moments inside the home and the voices of the suspects as they discussed what to do with the star while they had him cornered. The emotions inside the courtroom during the preliminary hearing were described as being at a fever pitch, with family members of the suspects reportedly breaking down in tears while the prosecution laid out a case that includes multiple counts of armed robbery, kidnapping, and conspiracy. According to the leaked accounts, the evidence against them is so airtight that legal experts are calling it a slam dunk case for the state, leaving the men with no hope of ever seeing the outside of a prison yard again. The reports describe how the rapper's legal team has been working closely with federal agents to ensure that every single person involved in the planning of the invasion is brought to justice, even those who may have provided the blueprints of the house or the timing of the security shifts. The narrative being pushed suggests that the police have already identified a fourth person of interest, a shadowy figure who reportedly coordinated the logistics from a distance and is currently the subject of a nationwide manhunt that has the entire industry on edge. Every new detail being leaked points to a night of absolute terror that has left permanent emotional scars on everyone who was present, and the reports state that the star has been seen in a state of deep reflection, considering how close he came to a tragic end as the suspects were led back to their cells after the hearing. The look of pure desperation on their faces was a far cry from the aggressive personas they projected during the initial attack, showing just how quickly the tables can turn when the full weight of the law comes crashing down. The community is currently in a state of pure hysteria, with people taking sides and wondering if this capture will finally bring peace to the rapper's life, or if it will only trigger a new wave of threats from those who still hold a grudge against him. Sources say that the tension is so high that the rapper has allegedly moved his family to a secret location while the trial proceeds, fearing that the associates of the men in custody might try to finish what they started. The reports state that the sheer volume of digital evidence, including geolocation data and social media footprints, is enough to keep a jury occupied for months, making it nearly impossible for the defense to build a credible story as the world watches and waits for the next move in this legal chess match. The story continues to grow more and more sensational with every passing hour as we realized that the most targeted man in music might have just won the biggest battle of his life. The atmosphere inside the legal system has reportedly reached a boiling point as the details of the formal charges against the three suspects have been leaked to the press, painting a picture of a criminal enterprise that was destined for a catastrophic failure from the very beginning. According to these sensational reports, the prosecution has uncovered a series of encrypted messages that suggest the Home Invaders were not just looking for money but were allegedly being paid by a rival faction to deliver a message of pure terror to the rainbow-haired rapper. Sources are claiming that the emotional stakes in the courtroom have been off the charts, with the suspects looking more like defeated men than the hardened criminals who allegedly stormed the star's sanctuary just weeks ago. It is being said that during the latest closed-door hearing, one of the invaders broke down and allegedly confessed to the entire plot, claiming that they were promised a massive payday that never materialized, leaving them abandoned and alone to face the full wrath of the law. The reports describe a scene of absolute betrayal as the men realize that the people they thought had their backs have completely disappeared into the shadows now that a life sentence is officially on the table. Fans are absolutely reeling as reports surface about the rapper's reaction to the news, with some claiming he has been seen in high spirits, making calls to his inner circle and bragging about how he outsmarted the streets. Once again, the narrative being pushed by these reports suggests that the evidence includes not just physical items, but voice recordings from the night of the attack, where the suspects can allegedly be heard arguing about whether or not to take things to a lethal level, creating a chilling account of how close the situation came to a permanent tragedy. According to these claims, the legal pressure has caused a total rift between the suspects' families, who are reportedly seen shouting at each other in the hallways of the courthouse, blaming one another for the mess that has destroyed their sons' futures. The reports state that the judge has denied bail for all three men, citing them as extreme flight risks and a danger to the community, especially given the high-profile nature of their target and the violent methods they allegedly used. The air in the hip-hop world is thick with speculation, as many wonder if these arrests will lead to a domino effect where more names are named and more secret plots are revealed by men who are now desperate to shave a few years off a life sentence. Every new leak points to a situation where the authorities have the upper hand, and the suspects are reportedly in a state of constant fear inside the high-security wing of the jail, where they are being held in protective custody to prevent any street justice from reaching them before the trial even begins. Witnesses claim that the rapper has been working on a documentary to capture this entire saga from his perspective, adding another layer of sensationalism to a story that is already the biggest headline in the industry. The reports describe a sense of finality starting to settle over the case as the prosecution prepares to present a mountain of digital forensics that will allegedly prove the suspects have been stalking the star for months, tracking his every move through social media and private informants. As the world watches the legal drama unfold, the questions about who really pulled the strings behind the scenes continue to haunt the narrative, with many believing that the three men in custody are just pawns in a much larger and more dangerous game that is far from over. It is a truly gripping turn of events that has the entire digital world locked in a debate about loyalty and the high price of fame, in an era where every move is monitored and every mistake can lead to a lifetime behind bars. That the rumors surrounding the final outcome for the men who targeted Tekashi 6ix9ine's home have reached a level of intensity that suggests the legal system is preparing to make an example of them in a way that the industry has never seen before. According to these sensational reports, the state has officially moved to seek the maximum penalty of life in prison for all three suspects, arguing that the premeditated nature of the attack and the absolute terror they inflicted on the rapper's mother makes them a permanent threat to society. Sources are claiming that the suspects were seen in a state of total despair during their final pre-trial hearing, realizing that their gamble for a quick payday has led them to a dead end with no possibility of escape. The reports describe a scene where the rapper's legal team presented a series of victim impact statements that reportedly moved even the most hardened people in the courtroom to tears, detailing the psychological trauma that has left the star's family in a state of constant fear inside their own home. It is being said that one of the suspects attempted to address the court to beg for mercy, claiming that he was coerced into the invasion by higher powers, but the prosecution allegedly shut down his testimony with a mountain of evidence that shows him Leading the charge with a weapon in his hand, the narrative being pushed by these reports is that the three men are now facing a total and irreversible shutdown of their lives with no chance for parole and no hope for a future outside of a maximum security facility. Fans are in a state of absolute disbelief as the news of the life sentence recommendation spreads across social media, with many debating if the punishment fits the crime, or if the authorities are simply tired of the chaos that follows. The rapper, wherever he goes, according to the leaked accounts, the rapper has been seen in a state of quiet triumph, reportedly telling his associates that he finally feels like the streets have been cleaned of the people who tried to break him. The atmosphere in the community is described as being one of shock and somber reflection as the reality of three young lives being over before they truly began starts to sink in for everyone who has followed this saga since the beginning. Reports suggest that the suspects are now being transferred to a federal wing where they will wait for the final gavel to fall, knowing that the world they once knew is officially a thing of the past. And as the courtroom doors closed on the final session, the look of pure defeat on the faces of the Home Invaders was reportedly enough to silence even their most vocal supporters. The weight of the scandal has left a permanent mark on the rap world, serving as a chilling reminder that the game has changed and that the law is no longer willing to look the other way when it comes to the safety of high-profile targets. Every new report confirms that the men who thought they were untouchable are now officially done, facing a lifetime of regret behind bars, while the rest of the world moves on to the next headline, leaving them as nothing more than a footnote in the wild and dangerous history of Tekashi 6ix9ine. This saga has officially reached a point of no return, and it has left the entire music world in a state of absolute shock over these massive reports. Whether you have always been a critic of 6ix9ine or you have been watching his every move with curiosity, there is no denying that the news of his attackers facing life in prison changes the landscape of the rap game forever and leaves us with so many questions about the future of street politics and celebrity safety. Can the industry ever find peace when the stakes have become this high? Or is this just the beginning of a new era where the law takes total control over the narrative of the streets? We want to hear exactly what you think about these viral reports and the justice that has everyone talking tonight. Do you think a life sentence is the right move for these home invaders? Or is the system making an example out of them because of the high-profile nature of the target? Drop a comment below with your honest thoughts, because the debate is just heating up and your opinion is a huge part of this conversation. If you want to stay updated on every single update and the final sentencing of these three individuals, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you never miss a breaking update. Thank you for watching and staying tuned to the pulse of the drama as we continue to follow every lead in this unfolding headline.